Okay, now we're going to kind of review our central and our inscribed together, and we're going to be putting them together on a picture like this where we have both kinds together. So this makes good reviews of it. Remember, a central angle, it's at the middle and it's the same for the arc and the angle. On an inscribed, the angle is half the arc. So that's what we need to remember from our last two pages. So here, if I start with the inscribed angle is 50, the inscribed angle is half the arc. So that makes this arc here 100. And then the central angle is the same as the arc, so that makes the central angle 100. On our next one here, this is one similar to one we had before. This is the diameter of the circle, so that makes this side over here 180. And that makes this side over here also 180. So if this side is 180, I can do 180 minus 56 and I get 124. So this arc is 124. And then this angle is half the arc, so that makes this 62. On this one, if these two chords, remember these are chords that we talked about, are equal to each other, that means these two arcs are equal to each other. So this arc is the same as this arc. I also know this angle that I made here, the angle is half this arc. So if I multiply times 2, I get that this angle is out here is 96. Because 48 is half of 96. Then to find these two, I can do 360 minus 96, and I get 264. But these two are equal to each other, so to get each one of them, I just divide this by 2, and I get each one of those sides is 132. Now we're going to work up and we're going to do pictures that have even more angles in them. So this one, it has central angles here, and it has some inscribed angles here. So we have to start with where the picture has a number in it. It starts right here, and this is a central angle, so it's the same as the arc on the outside, 94. So CD is 94. Well, what about this side and that side? Well, these two angles here are vertical angles, so we know that those are equal to each other. So if this is 94, that's also 94. So I also know that arc AB is also 94. Then this is a straight line that's a diameter, so I know on this side it adds up to 180. So 180 minus 94 is 86, so this one has to be 86. So that one's 86. CB. And then they also asked me, what is angle CAB? Well, that's this inscribed angle right here, CAB, and this angle is half of that arc, so that makes this one 43. Okay, the next one, we're still dealing with central and inscribed. And it gives me this angle first, which is an inscribed angle. So this angle is half of this arc out here. So if I take 28 times 2, I get this arc is 56. Then I also know that this is half of the circle, so I can do 180 minus 56 and get that this is 124. For this part here. Then it asks me for angle ACB. Well, that's this inscribed angle on this side here. Well, this one is half of this arc, so that makes this one 62. Then it also asks me for AOB. AOB, well, that's this central angle right here, and the central angle is the same as the arc, so that one makes that 124. And finally, COB, that's this central angle on this side, which is the same as this arc, so that makes that 156. And finally over here we have a central angle and an inscribed angle, and they gave me this corner here. Well, what we need to keep in mind is that these two things right here, this one and this one, those are radius. And what do we know about the radius of the circle? All radius are equal. So we notice that these two are equal to each other because those are both radius. So that makes this a little isosceles triangle. If it's an isosceles triangle, that makes this side equal to that angle. So this side over here is also 31. So now I can find this central angle by doing 180 minus 31 minus 31. And I get that middle angle is 118. So angle COB, this angle right here, is 118. That means that this arc out here is also 118. Now I can find this angle on this side, because this angle on this side is an inscribed angle, so it's half of this arc. So that makes it 59, and I didn't write it down, but the first one we did was CBO. That one right there we said was the same, it's 31 degrees. So you see how you have to just kind of work around, remember what we know about triangles, remember what you know about vertical angles, all of that stuff comes back. Alright, and then you're going to have a picture with some more stuff on it, and you may have to even read some information that's over here in the text. The text tells me that AC is a diameter, so that means that this is half of the circle on this side. It tells me AD is tangent out here, and it tells me that arc BC, this one right here, is 42. So then what you have to do is you just have to look at this and say, well, if I know that one's 42, what do I know? Well, this is a central angle that goes with that arc, so I know this one is equal to that one, so if this one is 42. Well, I also can tell that this is the inscribed angle that goes with that one. So this one's going to be half of that, so this one is 21. Let me do these arcs. AC, well that's this one here. Oh, well that's half the circle because it said this is a diameter, so that's half the circle, so this one has to be 180. And AB is the one on this side. Well, that's half the circle, so I can do 180 minus 42, and I get 138 for this one. Well, let's see, if this one's 138, this central angle is equal to the arc, so that makes 4 138. And how about 6 and 7? Well, remember when we said that these are both radius, so these two are equal to each other, which makes this triangle right here an isosceles triangle. So to find these two angles, these angles are going to be equal to each other, so I can do 180 minus 42 is 138, and then divide by 2, and I get that both of these angles here are 69. So 6 and 7 are both 69. And finally, I have this angle 8 here. Well, if I knew 2 and I know 4, I could find 8. I could do it by these three angles in a triangle add up to 180, or I could also be very clever and say, well, this is a radius and this is a radius, so these two are still equal to each other, and that makes this one an isosceles triangle again. So if this one's 21, 8 also has to be 21.